Hello everybody. Right, okay, so yesterday, 12th of March, I attended Edlington Town Council meeting. Alright, now what I'll do is I'll post their agenda as well. I've made notes all over my agenda that I printed off and took, but I'll put it just so that you can see what we're actually on agenda. Right, but I'll go through and I'll sort of summarise what the main points are, because to be fair, it was pretty much as I expected it to be. I were hoping for a lot more different. There were some positives in there. They were mainly people focused positives rather than a process. See, what's happening is the town council, right, is another layer in between sort of the residents. Right, so you've got residents, and then you've got the town council, and then you've got the MBC, and then you've got probably the local authority, and then you've got, you know, central government. Do you know what I mean? So there's all of these layers that you have to go through to potentially get anything done. Now, when you've got a problem and you want to find a solution, you want it to be as simple as that. You want to have a conversation and you want to be able to take some action. But what you've got to do is follow in this overcomplicated, overlayered process, and this is what happens as sort of societies have got a bit bigger. And I'm not going to go too much into that, right, because I don't need to get too bored with it, but I'm trying to keep it real and I'm trying to keep it useful so that you know and you get a reasonable picture of what we're dealing with. So as society's got bigger, they've just added more layers in, and it just gets more complicated because you get more people who want to fill more positions of importance, right, and have their say and have the bit of power or control over their particular area. You've also got a lot of people who want to make a change and who get involved in these sort of structures to try and make a difference and to try and change it from within. Tends to find what happens is, because of the laws and the policies that they put in place, then people sort of get a bit rolled over. And I saw a lot of that last night because I got asked to be quiet or stop speaking about 20 times because I kept interrupting because I felt like it was a valid point, and I got told that I were actually breaking the law by talking when they said I shouldn't be talking. That's another point. It happened quite a lot. There were 3 other members of the public who were there last night, 3 ladies, and have a look through the agenda, because there's a slot where it says that public speaking, you get 3 minutes to say what you want to say, to a maximum of 15 minutes for the whole public thing. And these ladies who were there last night when I started speaking, and they said tell you what, have our 3 minutes. They were gems. But what I'm saying is, it's far too complicated. They've overcomplicated it to the point where nothing gets done. Now, I could go through all the different agenda points, to be honest, and these, you've got 17 points and they've all got subsections, and, you know, but I'm not going to do that to you, because I can pretty much sum up what they talked about. And what they talked about, they were about, I'd say, over 50% of these points were a review from last month, then they said no changes, and then they said let's put it on next month's to see if there's out new. So nothing happened, and the vast majority, and I give this point a few times, right, is there's so much talk and nothing gets done, right? Next to nothing gets done. Now, I'll tell you what I did notice that got talked about a lot. The hot topic of rubbish and fly tipping. I've got to put that one up because we've all had a speak about that, right? And what it were is Edlington Town Council met with DMBC, right, under a street scene project, and they had a talk. And what they talked about was various things, including super bins, right? This super bins thing, which cost a fortune. They talked about massive machinery that compresses more rubbish, right? Again, at a massive cost. What they also said, there were nothing actually that was effective or made a difference to you or me as residents and the problems that we've seen, apart from some people who were sat around the table who I felt implied it would, residents' fault, residents' problem. Also, from this meeting between Edlington Town Council and DMBC, there were feedback of, yes, DMBC really welcomes people doing something about it, and residents actually getting out there and doing something about it, and we'll provide them with pickers, bin liners and high-vis vests. No thanks. We got the pickers, fair enough, we got 6 pickers, and people went and did it themselves, and we're trying to see where we can help ourselves with this. But what I'm saying is, for all the money that gets piled into this, into the different layers, we're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds a year, and that's just here. You're talking millions here, you're talking then tens of millions, and as it goes up, it's just more and more money. I had loads of talk about funding, applying to central government for funding. There's lots of talk about business, about businesses wanting land for projects. Edlington Town Council has got over £1 million worth of land and properties, and I tell you what, I don't just want to go on the bigger picture here straight away. And I'm trying to, I tell you what, there were a couple of people last night who gave some really good ideas about how to keep it. There were an older chap who gave some really useful comments about how to communicate with people and residents better, about putting things in the Focus magazine, that we all get through as letterbox, that when we have a cup of tea and a biscuit, and we'll flick through that because it's a nice little booklet, it's a nice little brochure, although it's full of business advertisements a lot of the time. We have a flick through it and telling people actually the relevant information of what they need to do about this fly tipping. Also seen a really good post just earlier actually on Edlington Matters about saying, about if you pay somebody to, I can't remember I'm really sorry, I can't remember his name, but the post was about, if you pay somebody to get rid of your rubbish, do just be careful because it could come back on you. Now, there were things of it seemed to be, I did say this to him last night, seems to be all fur coat and no knickers, right? Talk a lot, don't particularly do a lot, a bit too up themselves on their own position and far away from the people. Now, the feedback, I tell you, the amount of traffic that Edlington Matters Facebook page gets. Now, I did say about the Edlington Town Council Facebook page, because they don't allow public posts. Now, to me, that's shocking. Where's the feedback there? If you go on the Facebook page, and that's where the agenda is, and that's where the meetings are advertised, what you'll see generally, and from a marketing psychology point of view, so you sort of got to be aware of this. I've sat through enough senior management meetings and been involved with other agencies and things like that, and marketing psychology. It's my sort of hobby, really. Is you can see this because they want all the positive, press. Anything that looks good, and this came up last night, is there's an event happening. It's really positive, so we want as many councillors there as possible because it's a photo opportunity. I'd love to bring more positive actions. Yeah, they're really doing this. They did say, Robert, who were chairing the meeting last night, and Simon, the clerk, they'd say, "Oh, we'll catch up with you and we'll have a chat about some of the things that you've got to say." Well, that's because I'm ruffling feathers here. I can see through it, and also I'm willing to communicate it on a really honest level. And I don't like that because the way that I sort of do it, I can expose the weakness in the structure, and that actually what's happening is all the money and all the taxes and everything else that people are having to go to work and absolutely just keep, because how much spare money do you get, eh? No, because you're always paying this and that and other, and if you get some more money, everybody knows you sort of change your living. You never have too much free money. But what happens is, you've got let's say the general public here, and what you do is you pay your taxes, and it goes to central government, right? And then what they do is they all just feed each other. So they siphon the money off the public, and then you've got all of these different agencies and all of these different levels that just pass it around. And subcontracting is ridiculous, and there were lots of that last night. What should we do about this sign that needs putting up? Oh, we'll get a subcontractor in, and so it's paying somebody else. Now, if you look at and this is all available online. I've had a look through this. Right, this is the balance sheet for Edlington Town Council for March 2018, and just do you know how much money goes through? You got nearly 400 grand, right, in receipts here, right? So this is what they get. Now, if you look at things like on their Facebook page, neighbourhood plan, woodland trust grant, right? They're put down as one thing, but they're separated on here. It's making things look more than it really is, to justify, or to try and justify, because there is no justification for the amount of money that comes in each year for what they actually do. I was really disappointed. I expected more from last night. I expected to be able to say, do you know what, yeah, actually, I can see what they're doing here, and it's, it might just be a bit of confusion in communication. But it's loads of chatter. So, it's money, it's business, it's land, it's photo opportunities, and it's meeting once a month to be another layer. And applying for funding, you've got Simon who's in there, who puts all the bids for central government funding. the most excited I saw them last night when they were on about possible £10,000 funding for this, and lottery funding, and the up near Martin Wells Lake, you know, the area that's cleared and been cleared there, getting funding for that, getting funding for lots of different areas, and I'm not sure who's actually doing the work. So we're talking to Eco, right, and Eco told me that they're doing a lot of work up there and clearing the land, and doing a lot of work around it, you know, the Friends of Martin Wells Lake. So who funds that? Because I've got Eco telling me it's them, and then you've got Edlington Town Council who's applying for all this funding. So it can be confusing, folks. But I tell you what, of the evidence of what I saw last night, and looking further at the layers of the structure of government, if you actually paid the taxes for what you actually see, honestly, you'd pay next to nothing. And this is one of the reasons why I'm not bothered about not paying council tax and everything like that. You know, they could take issue with me if they want, but I see through this, and I think we're all being played a little bit, and people, you know, some people, not all, right. There were some people, when I did some valid points last night, and when I challenged them a bit in certain areas, I could see some people around the table, you know, nodding and going, yeah, actually, you know, we can see where you're coming from there, and we agree. So this is not all Edlington Town Council is rubbish and the people, right? It's not about that. This is saying that the structure that has been built around us to use us as sort of worker ants and siphon off your energy and your money is not helpful. Now, how do we change it then? She's saying, all right, hold on a minute, Jamie, you're talking about massive things here, right? Yeah, it is, because to be honest, it goes from Edlington Town Council to now it's all Europe and in and out of Europe and all that. But if you're bothered about it, and you're bothered about how much you're paying, then you're going to have a bit of an opinion on it. So what do? We give feedback, and we put realistic pressure on the points that we can. I'm not on about marching to Europe, although I'd take a walk to Europe, no problem. But what I'm saying is, I gave them some feedback last night. I let them know that it's not right, and that people are cheesed off with it now. We're not happy, and that we're finding his voice. Now, in my experience, it's important that, you know, we're obviously passionate about it, and passionate about saying what we think, but it's important not to win like a bulldozer, but to give them the opportunity to sort it out. And if they don't, well, then you just don't roll over and say, oh, fair enough, all right, we'll keep paying. No, we won't. There has to be some point when you say, nah, enough's enough, man. Enough's enough. We're not having this anymore. So there's maybe more in this video here than you thought. But as I'm looking through the agenda and the points that were raised, I can sum it up in a few points, really. I mean, I was there for an hour and a half last night, and I left, and they were about 2/3 the way through agenda. But like I said to them last night, they weren't going to discuss anything else that were going to change me viewpoint any more than from what the information that I'd already acquired, which was that it was focused on how much money can we get, talk about land and business, and there was nowhere near enough, not by any stretch of the imagination, talk about what can we do with all this money that we get to really help the residents, right, and change people's lives. So there you go. Maybe not as much in there as you thought, or maybe more than you thought. But to say that actually, you know, supposedly when I asked Simon a week or two ago, how many paid employees, right, does Edlington Town Council have? There was Simon as the clerk, and it's got, you know, all the wages and everything else on there as well. Show you that one. There was Simon as the clerk, and 5 employees down at cemetery. Now, depending on how these are sort of segmented, because some of them, like South Yorkshire Pension Authority pensions, you know, in your wages, and there might be somebody out there who's far hotter at sort of analysing this than I, but some people, you know, you don't have to be a genius to look at how much is coming in, see how much it is, and then say, what are you doing with that money? Why are we paying that much? And the thing is as well, that's just one town council. They discussed about Edlington as well, town council, and it made me think, hold on a minute, I'm going to Google search how many town council, how many village town councils there are, and how much money are people being ripped off by, and that we shouldn't even be paying for half the stuff that we are. Society is being railroaded, man, and we need to just be aware of it, give them some feedback where you can, and we'll see what changes. We'll see what changes they decide to make once the public and the residents start saying no, not having it, not putting up with that anymore. And then it'll sort of spread a little bit more. And then what you'll find is hopefully things will, you know, money's not the major, you know, factor, and pressure. It's all about pressure and keeping society in a well-controlled sort of bubble, really. And I will touch on a while ago, because I thought of this earlier on, and it sort of upset me a little bit. And because the basics, the amount that businesses, right, and these different industries and the massive money and profits and things like that they take off people, and you got people dying on the streets, homeless. Now, what I'm talking about the basics. I'm talking about, you know, I don't think anybody should be paying for water, heating. Yeah, people shouldn't pay for that. These are basic things, and you're having to jump through hoops to keep warm. If one person dies because of the cold, that's murder to me. That is. It's not on. But the big changes in society, you know, come from the little steps. You think, hold on a minute, 1 billion, right? Can't count to 1 billion. Start counting to 1 billion. You have to start at 1. So never underestimate the power of 1. And never underestimate the power of being able to say no. Enough's enough. We want something better. Give us something better, or we'll sort it out ourselves.